Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Well, it's time for another review of a Hamilton. This one being the Hamilton khaki Field, or one of those Hamilton khaki Field watches. This one here I didn't specifically pick. This one here was picked for me by Ashford.com. And you would have seen that little sponsored icon pick up somewhere along the top there, and that is because Ashford.com supplied this watch to me free of charge. Now, they did that for a specific reason. I certainly thank them for that. I am absolutely thankful to get a free watch, but it wasn't actually a watch specifically for me. This watch is actually going to end up being one of your watches, because this watch was given to me by Ashford.com to be a sponsored giveaway. Now, because I sort of want to get some more interesting content on the channel, I did actually want to do some videos about it first. I wanted to get a full review in about it, and that's what I'm obviously going to be doing today. But because it is going to be a giveaway, because one of you guys is going to get to have this watch at some point in the near future, as a result, I chose not to wear this watch much. I don't want to give you a second-hand watch, so I've been very careful to just look after it, get a little bit of time with it, enough so I can do this full review. However, still keep it in brand new condition so that when one of you wins this watch, it is going to be as close to new as possible. But guys, if you don't end up winning it in that subscriber giveaway, well, this one costs $329 from Ashford.com. Ashford.com is a website that sort of buys watches in bulk. As a result, they were able to get them at a significant discount, and then they pass on that discount to us. Now, I've bought watches from Ashford.com before, and I've had a good purchasing sort of experiences with every single one of them, and they've also ended up being the cheapest online, which, to be honest, is the reason I bought from them. I've got a limited amount of money to spend on watches, so I try to get it at the cheapest possible price. Ashford.com does have a really good range of watches, but they don't have every single model from every single brand. They've just been able to pick up big chunks of watches here and there. Still ends up being a lot of different watches, but they all end up being priced very well. So if you're interested in this watch, or if you're interested in other watches, check out Ashford.com. I'm going to leave a link specifically to this one here. It will be one of those affiliate links. That means I earn a tiny little bit of a percentage if you choose to buy using that link. But let's jump into this full in-depth review of a Hamilton khaki watch with a slight twist. Something that has actually been quite nice to see and have in hand. But let's check it out in the full review style. So here we have the Hamilton khaki Field H706050. Now I believe there's a couple of other reference numbers to it as well. I might stick up on screen here just the reference number that's written on the back of the watch, and then underneath it perhaps the reference number that is on some of the websites about this watch. This one comes in this cool little travel pouch, which I'm pretty happy with. It is Hamilton sort of branded. Comes on a little cushion, which is nothing too special, but it is quite nice. But of course, we're going to be having the watch and be looking at the watch today. Now, as always, whenever I have a watch in hand that I'm doing a review, but that I haven't worn it for one reason or another, I do put that in as a caveat and say, hey guys, I'm doing a review on this one, but I haven't had it on wrist for a long period of time. Obviously, in this case, because I want to give it away and I want it to be as new as possible, that is the reason, not for any other reason. Now, on paper, this watch has a lot going for it. It's made from a brand that we love, Hamilton. It's obviously then Swiss made. It has the H10 automatic movement, which has 80 hours of power reserve, which is a big sort of bonus there. It has a sapphire crystal, which is what we like, and it also has 100 meters of water resistance, which is a nice amount of water resistance for a field style watch. But compared to a lot of the other field watches that I've had, it has something rather special going on with it. Because other field watches that I have are either black or possibly have a green look to it. This one has a blue, grey, silver look to it. But it's only a subtle look, and I really like that about it. It gives it a little added wow factor, but it's a subtle wow factor. Obviously, it's pretty obvious when you look at the strap. We've got a bit of blue, a bit of a bluey grey there with a bit of blue stitching. But the dial is also this sort of colour, a bluey grey. And it's a really nice subtle color, but it's not the only other wow factor for this watch. There's a couple of other things that really stick out that I particularly like. On the dial, you'll see the 12 and the 6 are over enlarged or bigger than the other numbers, and it really sort of adds to it. It's something which I hadn't really thought about before, but it really sort of draws the line into the watch, and I think it looks really cool. The other sort of wow factor is probably a slightly negative wow factor. It's like, wow, why did they do that? And it's the date window. So let me just move this hand out of the way because I want to have a quick look at this one here. You'll see that by putting that window in there, they've actually squished the 3 across, which is sort of noticeably when you look at it. And when you look at the inner minute ring there, they've actually encroached on those a little bit. So it's great to have the date window there. It's a very useful function, but I think it has done something rather funny there, unfortunately. That aside, there's some great stuff going on this dial. Besides those 12 and 6, obviously everything on this dial here is all printed. Heaps of loom as well, which I'll show you shortly. We've got minute tracks, hours tracks, seconds tracks. We've got the 60-minute time period. We've got all the numbers up to 12. We've got an inner chaptering there with the 24 hours, so we can read our 24-hour time and 12-hour time. We can also obviously do some seconds counting, which from a field watch, we want that sort of tool aspect abilities of the watch, and this one absolutely does. Heaps of loom on this one, as we expect from Hamilton. Might as well show a quick loom video now just to show how good it is, because it is actually fairly good. I'm quite impressed by that. And all of that is covered by this really cool, very slightly domed, double domed sapphire crystal. No AR coating, unfortunately, with this one, which is a bit disappointing when you're sort of looking at Hamilton watches. But I have to admit, even with a bit of a glare from light, it is actually quite easy and legible. But it has one of my favorite types of sort of sapphire crystals, and it's a very slightly domed. It gives it a really nice sort of look, just sort of looking at the watch at this angle. And I know we're not checking out watches at this angle very often, but I have to admit, in hand, when I have watches with dome crystals like this, with this slight dome, I do tend to grab them and do this a little bit because I think it looks very, very cool. Now let's zoom back out a little bit and look at the dimensions of this watch, because it is a rather big field watch. So we're looking at a rather large field watch here. The case diameter itself is 41.9 millimeters, so we're looking quite big. However, the thickness is only 11 millimeters, so that really does help for it to sit nicely on wrist. The lug to lug, we're looking at 52.7 millimeters, so that is not small at all. It's not small for any watch, let alone a field watch, but you'll see there's a nice curve to it, which really does help make it sit on wrist a little bit better. Lug width is 22 millimeters, and on this strap that it comes with, it comes in at 78 grams. And at 78 grams for a field watch on a canvas strap, you can see that it actually has a little bit of weight to it. Not a huge amount of weight to it. It's not a heavy watch, but it has a little bit of heft to it compared to some other sort of field watches that I've tried. What I do really like what they've done is they haven't gone all brushed. I think all brushed on these style of watches does sort of suit it, but sometimes it leaves a little bit of a gap of the wow factor. I want something a little bit of a wow factor to it. And when we look at it, that solid bezel, the bezel that obviously does not turn, is all polished. Then down onto the top of the lugs is brushed, and on the sides it is brushed. So we have that little pop of polish there, which really, it gives something a little bit extra to the watch, which I do actually rather appreciate. The brushing is done very, very well. It really is. It's exactly what I expect from Hamilton. The quality of the brushing is absolutely fantastic. The crown is unguarded, as you can see. It has actually got a nice little size to it, has the Hamilton H on it, very easy to grab hold of and wind up. So as you can see, there is no threading here, straight into winding. Obviously has a quick set date adjust, as you would expect, and of course we have hacking. And in the back of this watch, we have the Hamilton H10 movement, which is a particularly good movement. I like this one. Not only does it look quite cool, it has a really nice customized rotor, but it also has an extended power reserve. The H10 is a modified ETA movement, but it comes with 80 hours of power reserve. And that is such a great feature to have on a watch, having that extended power reserve. But let's check out this one on the time grapher and see how it's performing. Well, I really think whoever ends up winning this one in the subscriber giveaway is going to be very happy with those set of numbers. Beating at 21,600 vibrations per hour, minimal to no beat error, nice healthy amplitude of 274, and running basically around 0 or just under. Great set of figures there, running at a nice sort of beats per hour and 80 hours of power reserve. What a great movement. Absolutely worth noting and talking about the strap, because it is a particularly nice canvas strap. Obviously there's some reinforcing there on the holes, which is like a dark blue, a grey sort of blue with blue stitching, really nice look and colour to it. Thin piece of leather underneath, giving you a little bit of sort of sweat protection so you're not sweating through onto that canvas, and great hardware. Isn't it cool having the Hamilton H there? Hamilton's written there. Nice and wide and thick, very secure. Having that double sort of tang as well really does feel secure on your wrist. But as you can see, when you look on the underside of the strap, I'm using the last holes. So really, I think this watch overall is probably sort of designed for a slightly bigger wrist than mine, and you'll definitely see that when you turn the watch over. Having such a large lug to lug, it's really pushed sort of beyond the boundaries for me. Personally, I still think it looks okay. I quite like this watch. I love the Hamilton watches in general, so I do sort of have a bit of a soft spot for it, but you can see that it's overhanging my wrist. And sort of, if you rearrange it a little bit, and I know if I actually wore this watch a little bit more, the strap would sort of conform to my wrist a little bit better. But yeah, to me, it's pushing just beyond the boundaries of what I'm overly comfortable with. I like to see it sort of sit a little bit further down like that, and unfortunately, it doesn't quite do that for me. However, as I said, I'm going to be giving this one way, and I think anybody, even with a slightly smaller wrist, is going to be quite lucky to receive this one. So what do I like about it? What don't I like? And what would I change? Well, there's two things that really stand out on the like list. Firstly, I really like the color. I like the color choice they've made. I like the subtle color that they've done on the dial. It just gives this a sort of very subtle wow factor, which I really like. And I like the quality of the watch. It's exactly what you're expecting from Hamilton. You're expecting a really good quality watch with a really good movement, with really good finishing, and that is exactly what you're getting from Hamilton here with this watch. What don't I like about it? Well, obviously this one's probably too big for me. It's probably one of the first times I've come across a watch that I actually think is too big, because I actually don't mind a big watch, but this one, it's a little bit too big. And that date window, to be honest, I think they should not have had that on there, because they've had to push the 3 over and then squish into that inner minute track, and it does look a little bit squished. Doesn't bother me too much, because I guess the 3 moves out and then it sort of continues into the crown, but I still think they shouldn't have done that. So that is obviously the thing I would change. I would remove that date window. Now, obviously, I'm not even going to bother saying that I wish it was smaller, because there are other Hamilton khaki watches out there that are smaller, so I can just choose one from the rest of the khaki range. But let's flip back to me now and give me some of my final thoughts about this Hamilton khaki field watch. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, this watch here, the one that I've shown you today, is going to be a subscriber giveaway funded by Ashford.com, because they supplied the watch, but I'll end up paying all the postage. Now, keep an eye out for that subscriber giveaway video coming soon. What I'm going to do is wait for a certain amount of subscribers to already occur, so then it can be like a 4,000 subscriber giveaway. I don't want to do the video too early and then have too much of a gap between the video and when I actually give it away. But this one will be put in a drawer, nice and safe and secure, ready for that subscriber giveaway and ready to give to one of you guys. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Please check out my other videos, and I do hope to see you in the next one.